Welcome to Neighborhood Favorites. Today we're in the vibrant heart of Anacostia, exploring a unique business shaping the community. Let's step into Anacostia Organics, one of the first medical cannabis dispensaries east of the river. We'll meet Linda Green, her team, and hear how they're impacting lives right here in DC. Hey.
Hi.
How are you?
Welcome.
Hey,
to Anacostia Organics.
Oh my God, this is so good to Mia and Linda.
Yes.
Oh my God, you're the owner and you run everything. So I'm excited about being here today at Anacostia Organics. And I understand that you're going to take us on a tour.
A little tour, yes.
little tour?
Show you what we have.
Yeah. Are you ready to get started?
I'm ready.
All right, let's do it.
Okay, let's go.
This is going to be great. I'm looking forward to seeing what you have in the
Thanks.
showcase.
Well, I'm happy to show you.
Yeah.
So this is our display area,
Okay.
and this is where people will come once they're registered.
Okay.
And we have everything that we have on sale for display, and then they'll do a consultation with the patient care specialist,
Okay.
and we'll find the right thing for them.
So let me just ask you something. So you say registered, what does that mean? When they come in, what do they have to have?
You have to have a medical card
Okay.
in order to shop at a licensed medical cannabis dispensary in DC.
Okay.
It's very easy to get one if you don't have one, though.
Okay.
You know, we could do it in like 10 minutes. You can self-attest. I'm 21 years of age or older, and I need medical cannabis, and then we can get you shopped.
Okay, so they can do it here, don't have to do
That's
it
right.
anyplace else. Okay,
do it right
that's
here.
cool. So they come here.
So they come here, and this is where we have our flower display for people who like to either roll their own or smoke in a pipe.
Mm-hmm.
This is the menu where we'll have what's flower is on, what we have that week for them.
Okay.
Okay.
And the price list and
We
everything.
have a price list. We always have great sales, so
Oh
we've
yeah,
got a
I'm
great
saying-
sale price
I never
list
thought
here.
about they would have a sale. So some of these are like 30, 35, and 40% off. So you do sales. Wow.
We do a lot of sales for folks. We like to try to
Yeah.
keep things affordable for people.
Okay.
You know.
And what I'm loving as we take the tour, how well lit and how wonderful it is. Because I had the impression, when you come into some place like this, it would be like kind of low lighting and things
Right.
like that, but that's not the case here, right?
Well, we've never wanted to have a place that made it feel like it was taboo in some way to come and get cannabis. Cannabis is medicine for the world. My mother was very conscious about opening here in our own neighborhood to provide this type of wellness and care for the people here east of the river.
Anacostia.
That's right.
The main strip.
That's right.
I love it.
So, when you wanted a place that's inviting and warm and welcoming and where you feel like your wellness is being uplifted.
And not that you're doing something illegal and you shouldn't be doing.
That's right, because there's nothing wrong with using this plant as medicine, which is what we're doing here, what we're providing here.
How does it feel? I know you all are impacting the community. How does it feel to work for family, for your mother? How does that feel?
Well, this is not my first time working for my mother. I love working for my mother. We've worked together many years, and I always say she's a woman of vision. And she has a vision, which is to serve the community that she's here. She's always, no matter what she does, she's trying to serve our community. And so it makes me really proud to carry on that legacy and to help her and to help with her vision.
And I love it, as you're greeted nicely at the door. So your staff is the same way. Everybody's warm from coming into the person that's out front, that is security, to coming in. Everybody's warm and friendly. So that's a really good sign about coming to an establishment.
Thank you. We always say we're a family here, not a factory. We want everybody to feel welcome.
To feel comfortable. Oh, that's lovely. Now, what do we have here?
Okay, so this is our display cases for our edibles and tinctures. You don't have to smoke the product in order to get the medicinal benefits of it.
Okay.
So
the edible means that they're like a candy, or?
yes, like they're actually like gummies, but we don't call them gummies in DC because children might like them, more. And lozenges, hard candies, and syringes and tinctures.
Okay, wonderful. So tell me, what do we have here?
So this case is the case for our pre-roll menus. A lot of people, pre-rolls are joints that are already rolled up that people can purchase instead of purchasing the loose flower, as opposed to that case over there. So a lot of people want to, for expediency, just get it already rolled up. A lot of our patients are also arthritic in their hands, so it's difficult for them to roll. So it's easier for them to use just.
So do you think about these things in meetings, like you and your mom, about, being able to serve the different, sectors of
Absolutely.
the populace?
We try to be as full service of a dispensary as possible because, like we said, we are here to help people with their wellness. So that means that you have many different people trying to service many different things. Not everybody's ailments are on the outside, right? So, and then it depends. Like we have people with cardiovascular needs. That's why sometimes the edibles are easier because you're not putting any stress on your cardiovascular system at all.
That makes sense. So I see we have this wall here that says electronic.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, there's a lot over on this side. We have our case where we have cartridges, vape pens that people can purchase as well. That's
so there's little
way
things that I see, like people kind of like, the pens, or they're just.
Yes.
Yeah.
And those you're not taking in the so much smoke into your lungs. They can be a little bit easier. And then we have lots of educational resources around for people. So that's what's going on here. We have things that describe what is a terpene and what the different terpenes are, and we have binders for lots of different information about medical cannabis that we often use as resources for our patients.
Do people come over and say, hey, this is, I need to find this, and what does this mean?
People love having these resources out here. So they are always available for people, and people do look specifically for that.
So I can take a mug home, I'm thinking?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. We have lots of merch, and the mugs are one. The mugs were here in honor of our 5th anniversary. We got the mugs to help celebrate. So yeah.
Well, this is fantastic.
Thank you.
Ingenious. I just can't, I always say when I go to a place, if I would want to move in and live there, that means that there's something going on that's homey and welcoming. And to be here in Anacostia, east of the river, you're doing very well. And I thank you so much for taking the time to give us this tour.
Thank you for coming. It's my pleasure.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, this is a great special part of this segment, me getting to talk to you. I've known you, we've known each other forever.
Forever and ever.
And ever. And so you being here, how do you like being here, and what was your thoughts about opening here in Anacostia? And putting all this vision, all of this together. How was that, Linda?
Well, I have lived in every ward in the city but 5 and 7, and I've had homes there, but I ended up buying a house over here in 2000, January 2nd, 2000. I went to a settlement and fell in love with the community, just truly fell in love with the community, and got really active in it and everything. And as you know, I was in public relations. But a few years later, I suppose, well, several years later, I had lived here long enough to see what the neighborhood did not have, amenity-wise and all of that. And then I found—
What were the things that you saw just being a resident that you would want here that you didn't see here?
A grocery store, a gas station, basically a hardware store. At that time, we really didn't have any restaurants here in historic Anacostia. Now we have, a couple of good restaurants here. But, basic necessities, because I had lived in Ward 4, in Georgetown, and different places where I didn't have to worry about walking to get anything I needed. I didn't have to drive across the river, get in my car and do anything. But the cannabis thing was really interesting because I didn't even know, even though I had worked in the city government, as Marion's chief of staff and everything.
Marion Barry.
Yes. And I did not know that DC had a licensed cannabis industry. And when I found out about that, that's when I got really curious and looked at it and started thinking about going into industry.
And this is all such a vision, and when I say vision, like when you come here, you would want to stay and spend some time, not just run in and run out. Now, putting all of that together and knowing all of that, are there some challenges about trying to maintain that? What have you found that, would be just some of the challenges that you find?
First of all, it's very hard to get a location. And I had I was committed to having a dispensary in Ward 7 and 8 because there was no access to legal licensed cannabis for the residents over here. They were being assigned to Tacoma at Blair Road or different locations rather than being able to walk to it in their own community. But just trying to find leasing a space was really difficult because we're still federally illegal.
Now, was it a lot of work? Was it because I know being in business for yourself, a lot of things you have to do yourself with small businesses. How was that for you? Did you have a team, researching? Did you have to do your own, being here and already living here? Did you know some of the landscape?
Well, this is a whole different industry. So the landscape that I knew in normal business is totally different from the landscape in cannabis. Okay. And my co-founders are Sherry Blunt and Yolanda Carraway. And we just threw ourselves in it, started traveling across the country and learning from the businesses that had been licensed and opened, who became our mentors.
Were they open to give you that information?
Oh yes. And first of all, there was really nobody that had any color to their skin in the industry, because we started looking into this in 2013, 2014. Wow. So, it's really, a male-dominated white industry, and still is. Even though women are getting in it more and more, and people of color are getting in it more and more. But they were very willing to share and advise and help us.
So let's talk about the challenges, because everybody always thinks, that everything looks great, and, we want to talk about the challenges mentally, physically that you go through to keep the doors open, to make sure that you have enough product, all of those things. What are some of the challenges that you find, being the first? When you're the first, there's no landscape to see or somebody to tell you. How does that feel? How do you deal with it? What do you do?
I'm grateful to have had some mentors from other states who were experienced in the industry to, sort of walk me through it. But with DC not being a state, the challenges are much different, because each state can regulate their cannabis industry as they desire, as they wish. So the challenges have been really tough, but I'm the type of person that, I'm not gonna let it get me down. So first of all, it took me over 2 years to find a location because landlords don't want to lease to you because we're federally illegal still. But the insurances, we have to have multiple insurances, and DC requires for a licensed dispensary or cultivator, whatever, to have armed security on premises, and we have 24-hour live monitoring security. In addition to that, but just the product is very expensive. The seed to sale tracking, the metric system, and everything that we have to do that normal businesses don't have to do, and certainly the illegal businesses don't.
Wow. Well, it didn't deter you, did it?
I didn't know all that when I got in it. I was too far in.
But that's what happened when you're doing your passion. You just kind of, but you're doing it, right?
We're doing it. We're doing it. And the joy is seeing people having access to legal, licensed, inspected cannabis in different forms in the community, and particularly in my community here, to get them off their street drugs that are laced with, all kinds of fentanyl and everything. But, and you don't know where it's coming from, and you don't know what's in it. You don't even know if you really have cannabis. So, that was why I decided, once I wanted to get into business, that I was going to open in my own community.
And I am so glad you did. But I want to know more about your journey, and I know our viewers do, but we can't stand here because your background is absolutely fabulous. Let's sit down and talk about it.
Let's do it.
All right. This is nice, isn't it? Finally, we get to sit down.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Well, I personally know how fabulous you are in your life and the things that you've done in the city. Let's talk a little bit about your start, being chief of staff for Marion Barry and all of those things, being the first woman to do a whole lot of stuff, including this. So talk about, getting to DC and, how did that journey start for you once you arrived?
It's a long and storied history here. So I arrived in D.C. From Newport News, Virginia, which is where I'm from, back in the early 70s. And I was working in banking in Virginia, and transferred to a bank here in D.C., a National Savings and Trust that's no longer around. And it happened to be right next door to Independence Federal Savings and Loan, which was the first Black savings and loan in the city. And that was founded by Bill Fitzgerald. And met him one day in the parking lot. And then I just started going to Independence every day after 2 o'clock until about 5. And just volunteering. And it was a savings and loan. And my previous was in banking, so it was a little different there. And then one day he just offered me a job. And I knew everybody there, so I went on and accepted it. And through Bill, I met everybody in the city. But I had, before he offered me a job, I had met Marion, I had met Sterling Tucker, Walter Washington, that whole society, because Bill was very influential. And he introduced me to a lot of people, including my former husband, Duke Green. Yeah.
So how did that segue into getting into politics and the political game?
You may not believe this, but growing up in Newport News, I've always been interested in politics, and I was the first Black teen mayor of Newport News, Virginia. Yeah. And so I've always had that drive to be in politics. I was just totally fascinated by it. But at the same time, I was very interested in business. And so I volunteered on campaigns. I volunteered on a lot of things, and that's how I got, totally intertwined there. But moving to DC at the power seat at the Worrell, that's a whole different.
And that was different then because, you had Marion Barry, you were just right out of the cuffs of the 60s civil rights movement. So everybody was like, say it loud, you know what I mean? So was that a push for you? Was that a feeling of empowerment? Did it make any difference that, yes, you were Black, but you were a Black woman? What was that like in being in politics and making decisions for yourself?
It was very powerful because there weren't that many successful Black men in DC during that time. It's right after the riots and all of that. Those that had a very tight-knit group. They were very tight-knit, and the Congressional Black Caucus, was founded during that time. And people didn't have safe places to go. Mine at Duke's house and Bill Fitzgerald and his wife Tina, their houses became like safe places for people of power and people influential in the Black community nationwide, to include athletes and entertainers. Mary Wilson of the Supremes was my very best friend in the world. So it was just a harbor, Charlene Jarvis, and it was an era where people were very close.
And networked.
And networked with each other.
So how was that? When did you, so being team mayor, you kind of knew for yourself, How were you after you were divorced and knew that you had to set the journey for yourself and figure out things for yourself? How was that in this town for political, so that you were making decisions for you and your business? How was that?
Well, it was great. While I was married, I was one of the few Black women and the youngest one that were on all those women's committees for all the arts, like the Wolf Trap Performing Arts, Wolf Trap Society, Washington Performing Arts Society, Sherland Jazz Society, all of those type of artsy things. And I was mentored by a lot of very strong Black women and Jewish women who consisted of those committees, and I ended up chairing and co-chairing almost every major ball in the city. So, my network expanded tremendously. And from that, I was taught how to put on fundraisers, political fundraisers, nonprofit fundraisers. I started serving on a lot of nonprofit boards and that type of thing. Gretchen Poston, who was the social secretary for President Carter, and I became very good friends. And before she had that job, she had a company called Washington Worrell around, which was the most popular event planning company in the city.
So do you think it's still important for women, men, who we're talking about you, so we're talking about women, to still network and to still make contact? And was it important for you to do that then and important now?
It's very important, and I stress that, and I even talk to my staff about it, because the people that you meet on this journey, and when you are volunteering and when you are giving your time, it's a wholesomeness, and it makes you feel grateful, and you're helping someone, and someday you may be that person that needs help, So, but the networking and is just of all levels, and I wouldn't say just network in something that you're comfortable in. Network in
things that are uncomfortable.
For you.
Most of your career, you've been an entrepreneur or had the entrepreneurial thinking. What advice would you give our viewers, women, men, women being a Black woman that would want to start a business and work for themselves? What is the best advice that you learned that you could impart with someone that's listening to me, to everyone?
Well, you have to be patient, and you have to know that things are not going to go as you expect them to, particularly in the beginning. But if you have something that you're passionate about, that's the business you should go in, because you're going to give it all you have. I had a fur business. I loved fur coats, and I had a fur business, Old Green Furriers, and then I had an event management company that grew into the political side of lobbying and representation, not only here for members of Congress in the United States, but also I branded out into Africa to represent all the African ambassadors. I worked for and represented President Mandela the whole time he was president of South Africa. I represented him here in the United States on some of his projects and things, and of course the entertainer side, the athletic side. So it goes it goes round and round.
So did you just kind of follow it and see where it took you?
Yeah. I mean, when you're out in certain settings and people need a publicist, or they need an event planner, or they need this and that and the other, and you network within your circles.
Okay.
Yeah. But it was those were all great experiences, and actually I was doing that when I looked into the cannabis industry.
Yeah. And we're so glad you did. And how does it feel to be first?
I'm the first east of the river. I'm one of the first, Black female owners of and licensees of cannabis in the United States. My daughter Tamia and I are one of only 3 Black mother and daughter teams in the United States as licensees. But when I'm doing things, I'm not thinking about being first. I just get intrigued.
And you
just move on with it. Just move on. Just go forward, you know?
Well, we're glad you're here. We're glad that you opened the doors to Anacostia Organics today.
Yes.
And Linda Green, keep doing what you're doing. We're so proud of you. We're so happy for you. And we wish you all the best. And we know everything is just what? Coming up roses.
Oh,
it's good to see you.
It's good to see you, and I'm so honored to be on the show with you. I love you. We've been friends for many years, and I just, this is an honor.
This is good. Yeah.
Thank you.
Next time we're gonna have some chicken.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. You cooking?
I am.
Okay.
Okay.
That's a date.
All right.
Chicken and champagne.
Yeah. What an inspiring day. At Anacostia Organics, Linda and her team are not only providing valuable health options, but are also a role model for what it means to serve and uplift a community. Join us next time on Neighborhood Favorites as we continue to highlight businesses and people who are making a difference. We'll see you next time.